They played soulmates on screen, but what if the script never really ended? Behind the kisses and camera cuts, these 10 Thai BL couples sparked rumors that refused to fade. Real love, or just really good acting? Hit play and decide for yourself. And hey, tell us which couple made you believe it wasn't just fiction. Billkin and PP Krit. They didn't just play soulmates, they made people believe in soulmates. When I Told Sunset About You aired in 2020, Billkin and PP Krit weren't household names yet. But by the end of the series, they weren't just stars, they were the center of a cultural obsession. The performances were breathtaking, the chemistry undeniable. But what truly ignited the fandom was the haunting question that lingered off screen. Was it just acting? Because no matter how many times they said, "We're just friends," their behavior told a different story. The way they looked at each other in interviews, too long. The way they leaned in during fan meetings, too close. Their joint appearances never felt staged. They felt natural. And fans noticed. From subtle Instagram stories to matching outfits, from inside jokes on live streams to the emotional way they spoke about each other in solo interviews, it was all just a little too perfect. Was it friendship? Was it more? Or was it something in between that didn't need a label? Both came from wealth and influence. Billkin, the heir to a luxury brass sculpture empire, and PP, raised in a prominent Chinese Thai business family. They didn't need fame, but what they built together transcended fame. It became a myth, a movement, a mirror for millions of fans who saw themselves reflected in their quiet tenderness. Their bond, whether romantic or not, gave people permission to feel things they'd kept buried. And that's the kind of impact no PR team can manufacture. They've never confirmed anything, but maybe they don't need to. Maybe their power lies in the silence between the words, in the glances, in the hesitation, in the comfort. And in a world where queer identities are still questioned, erased, or denied, maybe the fact that two of Thailand's biggest stars never pushed away the rumors is its own kind of bravery. Because sometimes, just not hiding is everything. Daou and Offroad. Sometimes, the loudest stories are whispered. Daou and Offroad never needed grand gestures or media spectacles to turn heads. Their power was subtler, woven through quiet moments, unspoken glances, and the rare kind of chemistry that doesn't demand attention, it earns it. When they starred in Century of Love, a sweeping BL drama that combined romantic tension with emotional restraint, something shifted. Audiences weren't just watching a show, they were watching a connection unfold in real time. Their scenes never screamed, they simmered. Every pause between words, every look that lingered too long, every laugh that felt just a little too natural. Daou and Offroad mastered the art of emotional gravity. It wasn't about fan service or flashy gimmicks, it was about stillness, trust, and something that felt deeply personal. Viewers noticed, directors noticed, and suddenly they weren't just actors, they were a pairing audiences couldn't stop thinking about. As their fame grew, they didn't retreat behind curated personas. Instead, they let the ambiguity breathe. They showed up, together, on the covers of Thailand's most prestigious fashion magazines, dressed not just in designer labels, but in a kind of effortless synchronicity. They didn't announce we're close, they just were. From behind-the-scenes TikToks that felt a little too aligned, to interviews where one would finish the other's thoughts without even blinking. It all fed into something fans could feel, even if it was never officially said. And that's what made Daou and Offroad different. In a space where labels often come before love, they flipped the narrative. They let the feeling lead. They didn't force it, they didn't fake it. And in doing so, they gave queer fans something rare, a kind of representation that isn't shouted but simply lived. Because sometimes, visibility isn't about volume, it's about honesty. Soft, steady, undeniable. Yin and War. On paper, they shouldn't work. Yin is calm, calculated, the kind of actor who observes before he reacts. War is fire, loud, unpredictable, emotionally charged in the best way. Put them in a room together and the contrast is immediate. But put them on screen, that contrast turns electric. When Love Mechanics aired, the storyline wasn't new, but the way they told it was. Yin's steady stillness against War's raw vulnerability made every scene feel like a live wire. Fans weren't just watching a romance, they were watching tension find harmony. But the real fascination wasn't the drama, it was everything that came after. Interviews where War would tease Yin mercilessly, while Yin sat with a barely there smile that spoke volumes. Behind-the-scenes clips where Yin would adjust War's mic or quietly pass him water, unspoken and unnoticed unless you were really watching. The internet was watching, and reading between the lines became part of the fandom's full-time job. The ship name Yin War wasn't just a cute tag, it was a mystery to be solved. Were they just great scene partners? Or was there something off-script bleeding into real life? The evidence was suggestive, matching bracelets, travel photos posted hours apart from similar locations, birthday messages that felt just a little too personal, and a moment during a live stream where War, mid-laugh, grabbed Yin's hand and didn't let go for just a beat longer than necessary. The screen froze. So did the chat. Still, neither has confirmed anything. And maybe that's the point. Maybe they're not interested in clearing up the rumors, because letting people wonder keeps the door open. And in that open space, queer fans see possibility, see themselves. And that, more than any love confession, might be the real gift of Yin War. So what do you think? Is it just friendship, or something deeper waiting to be seen? If you believe stories like this deserve to be told, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps this channel and these conversations alive. Aou and Boom. They weren't the leads people were waiting for. In fact, when checkout was announced, most fans didn't even know their names. Aou and Boom entered the BL scene without the buzz, without the big fandom, and without the burden of expectation. But maybe that's exactly what made their story so refreshing. There were no pre-built ships, no overhyped teasers, just two actors who met each other in character and built something quietly magnetic. On screen, they were messy, flawed, tender, the kind of love story that didn't need to be loud to be felt. Aou brought a subtle, grounded energy to the role, while Boom leaned fully into emotional vulnerability. The result? A slow-burn connection that took viewers by surprise. One episode in, people were curious. By episode 4, they were hooked. Their kiss scene didn't break the internet, but it broke something deeper, the belief that you need fame to make people feel. Then came the shift. Aou and Boom started appearing together in interviews, fan meets, and events across Asia. They weren't polished, they weren't trying to be the next it couple. But they were real, playful, warm. In one clip, Boom forgot his line, and Aou leaned over with a half smile, whispered the cue, and gave him a reassuring nudge. No acting, just care. That moment went viral. Their social media presence remains minimal, but that hasn't stopped fans from building entire communities around them. Art, edits, theory threads. They became something rare in the BL world, a pair that people fell in love with after the credits rolled. Not because of marketing, but because of authenticity. For a younger generation of LGBTQ+ viewers, they became proof that love on screen doesn't have to be flashy to feel real. It just has to be honest. And just when audiences thought they had seen all the ways a BL couple could surprise them, along came Sky and Nani, with a connection no one expected, and no one could ignore. Or Sky and Nani. Some couples are written by screenwriters. Others, like Sky and Nani, are written by fans. Before the scripts, before the staged moments, their connection lived in edits, fan cams, and the imaginations of thousands of viewers. What began as a background friendship on screen slowly grew into something the fandom couldn't look away from. Sky had a calm, almost aloof energy. Nani was expressive, open, a little chaotic. Together, they had that perfect imbalance that made every glance, every accidental touch feel intentional. They were never the main couple in the beginning, but the fan base didn't care. They watched closely, picking up on subtle cues that the average viewer might miss. Behind-the-scenes clips where Nani reached for Sky's shoulder in moments of stress. Live streams where Sky, normally reserved, let down his guard just enough to let Nani pull him into the spotlight. There was no big declaration, no romantic scene written into the script. Just moments, small, human, unscripted, that sparked something real. And the internet noticed. Sky Nani became a fan-made brand. TikToks, Twitter threads, speculative breakdowns of 2-second eye contact moments. What made it so addictive wasn't confirmation, it was possibility. The feeling that maybe something was there, and that maybe the boys were in on it too. They never pushed back, never made it awkward. In fact, they leaned in, just enough. Enough to keep people guessing, enough to keep the story alive. That kind of soft ambiguity has power. It makes space. And for LGBTQ+ fans, that space matters. Because sometimes, the stories we cling to aren't the loud ones. They're the quiet ones we build together, moment by moment, stare by stare. And in the case of Sky and Nani, the fans didn't just follow the narrative, they created it. Joss and Gawin. Some couples build chemistry over time, but Joss and Gawin, they set the screen on fire in their first scene. From the moment My Golden Blood aired, viewers knew this wasn't going to be subtle. There was no warm-up, no slow burn. Their dynamic was immediate, charged, physical, and impossible to look away from. Joss brought intensity and swagger. Gawin matched it with elegance and unpredictability. Together, they didn't just act the part, they consumed it. It wasn't just their looks, it was the tension. The way Joss would hover just a little too close, the way Gawin would smirk like he knew exactly what he was doing. They were equal parts danger and desire, and the camera couldn't get enough. Neither could the audience. In a genre that often leans into softness, they gave us edge. A different kind of chemistry. Bold, unapologetic, and unafraid to challenge the status quo. What surprised people wasn't just their on-screen performance. It was how naturally that electricity carried off-screen. They weren't overly affectionate in interviews. They didn't rely on fan service, but their presence together was sharp, like two people constantly trying to read each other's next move. Mutual respect, teasing glances, a kind of quiet rivalry that only made the chemistry deeper. It was real without being obvious, controlled without losing heat. And that's why fans are still talking. Because with Joss and Gawin, it never felt scripted. It felt like watching two actors meet each other at full power and dare each other to go further. They reminded audiences that BL isn't one flavor. It can be sexy, unpredictable, even dangerous. What about you? Do you think Joss and Gawin broke the mold, or just reminded us how much further the genre can go? Drop your take in the comments. We want to know who you think is changing the game. William and Est. In a genre saturated with established names and long-running fan bases, William and Est did something rare. They made people pay attention without a legacy behind them. They didn't arrive with noise, they arrived with presence. When Step by Step quietly dropped into the streaming universe, no one expected this low-profile pair to spark the kind of buzz usually reserved for top-tier names. But just a few episodes in, something shifted. Viewers weren't just watching, they were invested. William's performance brought a calm sensitivity, measured, thoughtful, restrained in a way that made every emotion feel earned. Est, in contrast, brought spark and spontaneity. His character's vulnerability wasn't worn on his sleeve. It cracked through in moments that felt incredibly human. And when their two energies collided, it wasn't explosive. It was magnetic, steady, real, and in many ways, refreshingly modern. Their on-screen romance didn't rely on cliches. There were no grand declarations, no exaggerated flirtation, just pacing that felt grounded in today's queer experience. Messy, sincere, hopeful. Off-screen, they've remained relatively low-key. No dramatic fan service, no performative chemistry. Just two young actors navigating fame while letting the work speak for itself. But even so, fans noticed the details. The way they spoke about each other in interviews, the subtle ease in their interactions, the quiet way they've supported each other behind the scenes. And maybe that's what makes them feel so current. William and Est aren't here to play the typical BL game. They're here to show what a slow, meaningful rise looks like. And in a space where LGBTQ+ stories are evolving, their presence feels like the next chapter. Not louder, just more honest. Curious to see where this new generation of BL stars is headed? Tap that subscribe button, leave us a like, and stay with us as we spotlight the rising voices changing the face of queer storytelling in Asia. Winny and Satang. They weren't the headline names, but somehow, they became everyone's favorite. Winny and Satang started as side characters in Hidden Letters, a small arc barely hyped. Yet something shifted. The way Winny looked at Satang during a quiet moment, the way Satang instinctively leaned in, protective. It wasn't explosive, it was quiet, real. A connection built on glances, pauses, and unspoken warmth. As the episodes unfolded, viewers couldn't look away. Their scenes weren't flashy, but they hit deeper. A soft touch during a breakdown. A knowing look across a crowded room. The kind of moments that felt stolen from real life. Interviews only added fuel. Winny's shy laugh, Satang's unwavering gaze. They didn't sell romance. They embodied it, without effort or performance. Soon, fans began connecting the dots. Off-screen, they showed up together, always casual, always close. A coffee run, a scarf adjusted in the cold. No press stunts, just real, unscripted moments. When asked about their closeness, they smiled. No denial. No confirmation. Just enough to keep hearts racing and imaginations alive. And maybe that's their quiet revolution. In an industry that either shouts or silences queer stories, Winny and Satang chose stillness, chose grace. They reminded us that queer love doesn't have to be performative to be powerful, that real intimacy can bloom without fireworks. For LGBTQ+ fans, their story felt like a soft place to land, a reminder that being seen doesn't always require spectacle. In today's world where queer love is often judged, debated, or erased, they offer something brave, presence without apology. They didn't need headlines. They created a legacy, one gentle moment at a time. Jimmy and C. They didn't rise with a bang. They grew on people, quietly, steadily, like a song you don't realize you've memorized until you find yourself humming it. Jimmy and C weren't hyped as a visual couple at first, but from the moment they appeared in Vice Versa, they showed something rare, emotional resonance. They weren't flashy or forcefully flirty. Their strength was subtle. In the way Jimmy would pause before reaching for C's hand. In how C's voice softened mid-line like the script didn't matter as much as the person in front of him. What set them apart was their vulnerability. Scenes that could have played as fan service became raw, aching moments. In one episode, a simple hug between them hit harder than full-blown romantic climaxes in other series. And fans noticed. Not just because of how they acted, but because of how they looked at each other between takes. Behind-the-scenes footage showed Jimmy holding C's wrist gently after a take, brushing dust off his costume. It wasn't performative. Soon, fan meetings turned into emotional gatherings. C tearing up when fans chanted their names. Jimmy pulling him into a side hug, whispering something only C could hear. Their bond was more than just screen deep. It was built on care, patience, and a kind of mutual emotional safety. No grand declarations, just presence, stability, quiet loyalty. Even with rising fame, they've stayed low-key. No unnecessary headlines, no dramatic interviews, but their chemistry continues to pull fans in, not with loud passion, but with an intimacy that feels earned. Their story reminds us that not every love glows like fire. Some, like theirs, feel like home. And now, from quiet warmth to magnetic opposites, we turn the final page of this journey with a duo whose energy is as explosive as their rise to fame, Joong Dunk. Joong Dunk weren't just cast together, they were launched. From their very first appearance in Star in My Mind, something clicked. Not in the usual polished, prepackaged BL way. No, this was different. Their energy was youthful but magnetic, clumsy but honest. Joong had this quiet intensity, like he was always holding something back. Dunk, in contrast, was all warmth, smiles, open gestures, eyes that searched for connection. Together, they created a storm. Their on-screen moments felt unfiltered. You could feel the tension, the hesitation, the hope, and off-screen, the chemistry didn't dim. In interviews, Joong would glance at Dunk mid-sentence, waiting for him to finish a thought, as if their minds were tuned to the same frequency. Dunk, in turn, had a way of grounding Joong, balancing him without stealing the spotlight. It wasn't just acting, it was presence, mutual focus, a real rhythm. As their fame skyrocketed, so did the rumors. They were seen together at events, sharing hoodies, finishing each other's jokes. One fan video caught Dunk fixing Joong's mic off stage while Joong smiled without even looking. It wasn't loud, it was lived in. Fans didn't need declarations, they felt the truth in the small things. What makes Joong and Dunk powerful isn't just their fan service, it's their trust, their comfort with each other in a world that scrutinizes everything. They've become a symbol for a generation, learning that connection isn't always clean-cut or easy to label. That love, whatever its form, matters. Each story left its own mark, but some marks stay longer than others. So now it's your turn. Who made you feel something real? Was it the quiet glances, the unspoken care, or the brave honesty between two hearts? Tell us in the comments, which couple captured your heart and why? Your voice matters here, because representation means more when we share it together. These weren't just scenes from a script, they were windows into something deeper. Behind every shared glance, behind every unsaid word, was a story that couldn't be faked. A connection that blurred the line between acting and truth. Some say it's just good chemistry. Others believe it's something more. But maybe the real magic is this. They made us feel. They made us believe that love, any love, deserves to be seen, celebrated, and remembered. So now it's your turn. Which couple stayed with you long after the credits rolled? Which moment made your heart skip? Let us know in the comments, because your voice is what keeps stories like these alive. If you believe in love without labels, if you believe queer stories matter, then hit like, share this video with someone who needs it, and smash that subscribe button to help us grow this channel. Together, let's keep pushing for visibility, one story at a time.